What exactly is indie music? Is it a genre? Is it a band? Is it a description? The term indie music has many meanings, and the key is context. Technically speaking, anything dubbed indie refers to it being independent. In terms of music, bands that would create music on their own from a small recording studio would be considered independent artists or independent labels. Likewise, movies that are made not in the big studios, or movies that are made that don't have the budget or don't have the staffing, they're considered independent films. Let's think of some of the major record labels that we have out there in the music industry. Warner Music Group, Sony, Universal Music Group. These are the major label companies. They have the biggest budget and the biggest staff. And with that comes the ability to control.
Though the politically correct description would be that those who are not kingpin companies are considered indie, the more widely accepted description for an indie label would be small budget, small staff, more complete artistic freedom, etc. This is just one branch for the indie tree. Indie can, and more often than not, defines a style of music. And as a branch can split into many more branches, this definition does the same.
Indie can be broken into indie-tronica, indie rock, indie punk, and indie folk, just to name a few. When referring to a style of music, indie usually represents a more raw sound, raw lyrics, unconventional sounds, less format, etc. Yeah? Excuse me.
It's hard to actually pinpoint an exact definition of what indie is. If you were to look back into the 80s, early 90s, post-punk and post-rock, there was a new sound emerging.
Grunge is its own genre and usually defined not only by the raw, dirty distortion sound, but also the appearance of the artist. Grunge is also a form of indie rock. This era could arguably be the birth of the indie whatever idea. Even though during the punk scene there were many indie bands, remember that is the technical term for groups under indie labels. They were still only considered punk with various subcategories. Grunge took off and also took indie rock with it. Bands were being formed from underground as before, but this time people were associating the label name with the style of music. Instead of just an indie label, this was now indie music, and more specifically indie rock. From that came grunge, which then took its own place in history, but indie rock birthed a new idea.
Please don't describe the way it feels to you, the way it feels in other words, in other words. The human race, it wishes to relate its thoughts and rhymes to other worlds, in other words. Some things we push away, the thoughts of you. Without me they seem to stay and play with me. And when I listen to someone else, it makes me think that I can kill myself and somehow save myself.
Hello?
Indie would capture the idea of underground, artistic, raw, different, free from bounds music, and it would move through different genres, creating an idea and a new sound.
Okay, bye.
For example, the line between indie and folk is often hazy, with both styles sometimes mixing. Look at the artist Bon Iver. I would classify him more as indie folk for various reasons. He has a traditional folk sound, acoustic guitar, mostly chords with lots of lyrics over them. Not really a complicated music and harmonies. But with that there is another sound, a driving beat at times. More than one instrument, more personal, in an unconventional music that doesn't quite fit folk. And for various sounds in the background. It's hard to describe a sound.
It's kind of like a whoosh. And then around. You know, if we kind of went through.
But when compared to traditional folk, Bon Iver would be closer to that genre. Yet he still has a distinct indie sound. I think this inability to specifically define indie is a great representation of the music that finds itself under that label.
One of the beautiful things about music is that there are no boundaries when it comes to creativity. Everything is fair game, and ideally the creation is a piece of the creator. From basic percussion to sophisticated symphonies, music is found everywhere. Is music influential, or is it a product of influence? It seems that it could be both. Take a look at the group Rage Against the Machine. A very political group that uses their sound to stimulate people and proclaim their political agenda. They easily fit both ideas of being influential and byproducts. Social, political, economical, and spiritual arenas are just a few places where we can find music as an influence and a byproduct of influence.
Flames, love light, ordinary, exhausting. Flames, love light.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a pink one and a green.
One could probably dig deep into the vaults of indie music and find many political songs with strong messages, intertwined with raw aesthetic noise. The group The Shins covered a song that was initially a pop culture classic and added a little indie twist to it. Though it doesn't rally the forces to fight against the man, it still gives a voice to the protester with a style of music that a group of people can relate to. Music and politics do go hand in hand. The indie genre doesn't fall very short. In a sense, indie music is a good picture of a lot of political movements. Usually starting off small with an idea and gaining in popularity by word of mouth. From there, the following is created and maybe it's impactful, or maybe it dies there. What are you doing? Turn the camera off! Or you're dead! I'm gonna kill you! Turn the camera off! Turn it off! Turn it off! I said to turn it off!
Probably the easiest way to relate would be the social aspect of indie music. One can go to just about any social event or product of society, and most of the time find music playing in the background. People dancing to music. People listening to music by themselves. Music depicting the mood of any kind of social event or media. Or people humming or singing a song or tune. And just like with visual art, not everybody loves the same piece of art. Music is exactly the same. For some, not for all. Indie music is, and its social impact draws its followers in, who then share and help it grow. It currently doesn't draw us as a whole closer together on the world stage as the Beatles did, but it does draw those in closer to enjoy it. In some cases, it also helps to bridge a gap between youth and old. NPR has always had various forms of music playing on its shows, primarily different types of jazz, but more and more you can hear some of its popular shows replacing the jazz intros with popular indie music. A subtle change, but a calculated one. What better way to reach a certain demographic than to air the very music that they identify with? The underground is making so much noise that people can't help but start pulling it up.
Meaningful memory, you thought you had left with somebody bright and bubbly, terrible scene that was doing her thing on your chest. But oh, come late, it is a nice ready.
Is one genre more spiritual than another? Or is music a vessel to transport a type of worship? How would indie music fit into that mold? Not being able to speak for all religions, I can't give as definitive an answer as I would like to, but from the views of the Bible, I find that music is a means to express worship. A popular taking on music is the genre of Christian music, or music that primarily sings about God. Many groups would argue that within that Christian title, only certain genres of music should be allowed to play. Through my studies of the Bible, music, and worship, I find that the genre is not the issue at hand, but rather what the song is about is really where the line should be drawn. Does it always have to sing about God? I don't believe so. Like the political and social aspects of indie and how areas of our life try and reach a certain demographic with that music, I would imagine that if more artists were willing to break free of the box of what Christian music is and be willing to just express themselves through the indie approach, then more people might be able to connect. Indie music itself is no more spiritual than heavy metal and no less spiritual than Christian rock. It's the heart behind the microphone that dictates where the song fits into the spiritual realm.
Economics. Another aspect of our everyday lives is now, possibly more than ever, influential over indie music. Recall that at the heart of indie, music is more with less. Home studios and cheaper equipment, less staffing, and less than optimal recording areas. One of the reasons that many artists choose to make independent labels and at-home recordings is because it costs a lot of money for professional recordings. As with most things, you get what you pay for, but you shouldn't expect to pay less than $50 an hour to record music. That includes all the mixing down, mastering, and producing, not to mention how long it actually takes you to get a recording that you like. For a full-length album, you'll be upwards of $1,000 easily at a minimum. Granted, if you pay for professional recording places, you'll generally get a very professional sound. But that doesn't fit with the indie idea. Half the appeal with indie music is that raw sound that comes from a cheap microphone or cheap preamps, or that song that sounds like a pocket recorder was placed on the table and everyone just went to town. There's a good chance that it actually was recorded through a pocket recorder. And as our economy struggles and people feel the need to express themselves musically, and with the indie style genres becoming more and more popular, indie music is primed for growth. And with that growth, I think we can get a glimpse of where indie is going. It's not exploding like the underground punk scene or thrash metal scene, but it is gaining popularity like them. That's evident throughout a vast majority of societies on the international level, as we see new artists from different countries becoming well known from underground on a more mainstream stage. From the depths of Iceland comes Seabear. Indie folk would be a good way to describe them. Then from Seabear comes Soleil, one of the members doing a solo act. Indie folk, Tronica, would be a good way to describe her. Small budget productions, but great music. Indie has a future that takes down boundaries and has the possibility to yield great new creations. I fear that as indie gains in popularity, though, it will teeter on the edge of losing its raw feel at its heart. If the artists are not careful, they could end up falling into the cookie-cutter mentality of big record companies. That underground feel, that raw feel, that artistic freedom helps give indie the drive and power to thrive and grow in society and to grab a seat. Even if it's a subfloor seat in pop culture.